Namaste. In our therapy group, a friend asked, what is the difference between curing, transforming, and healing? This got all of us thinking. According to Oxford, healing is the process of becoming or making somebody or something healthy again. Any kind of imbalance, discomfort is what causes pathology, and thus healing is needed. Medically, it is the body which needs healing. Psychologically speaking, it is the mind. Spiritually, it is the soul. Simple as these words may seem, they are not easy to understand. Healing has many meanings across psychiatry, psychotherapy, and also has a different interpretation in the East and the Western countries. Today, to unravel this concept of what is healing and how does it happen, we have with us our psychoanalysis consultant, Mr. Himanshu Vaidya. Namaste, sir.
Namaste.
Sir, what is healing?
Healing has many meanings based upon what you look at the goal state. One meaning of healing is to have absence of symptoms. Second meaning of healing is to have some relief. You may not be completely cured, but you are moving from a state of sickness to a state of lesser sickness. There is some relief. So the second meaning of healing has to do with relief, although there is no cure. Third meaning of healing is the psychoanalytic meaning of healing, where we refer to uh, making the unconscious conscious, catharsis of pent up emotion, and integration of the personality to indicate what we call healing. There is another perspective on healing where healing is defined as articulation and profound acceptance of desire, which may not include any cessation of symptoms, but desire per se is articulated and profoundly accepted and understood. In the East, there is a different uh, spiritual connotation to the word healing. There, one general spiritual connotation is that if you are not able to have a state of no thought on demand, you essentially have sick parts within you and therefore you are not completely healed. There are some special schools in spirituality in the East which talk about unless all chakras are purified, you are not healed. Some other schools say, this is the tantric definition, that unless all chakras are purified, you are not completely healed. Tantra also says, unless you experience oneness with existence, which is beyond having state of no thought on demand, you are not really healthy. And then there are some people who are from Sri Aurobindo's background who would say it is not only enough to experience a state of oneness, but you have to bring down those states and make them your everyday states. Unless you do that, something or the other pathological will be in you and you are not completely healed. Some in the West would also say that unless you are able to reach your optimum by self development in a more secular way, you are not completely healed. So, healing has many definitions, one in psychiatry, one in psychotherapy, one in psychoanalysis, one in human potential movement, and one in Indian spirituality. So all these areas have different definitions of the word healing. Most common definition that is used in psychiatry and psychotherapy is cessation of symptoms.
So, sir, what is the difference of healing between the Eastern and the Western countries?
East and the West differently see the goal of the human life and the limits of human potential. Because of this difference, the definition of healing also is different, and the perspective or understanding suffering also is different. So not only the understanding of healing is different, the understanding of suffering also is different. In the West, the emphasis is on cessation of symptoms, and the most on integration, catharsis, making the unconscious conscious, and self-development. Whereas in the East, things go much deeper. For example, if you take the definition of Ayurveda would define well-being or health not negatively by saying cessation of symptoms. It would define health by saying bringing in two important elements: the element of harmony at all levels and the element of bliss. So the element of harmony means there has to be harmony in the physical body, harmony in the energy body, harmony in the emotional body, harmony in the thought body, and thereby going into the body of bliss. And one feels the state of peace and bliss. If all of these are there, you can call it a state of health. So it's a very positive and a very affirmative and a very clearly specifying definition of health, which is a positive definition of health compared to the negative definition of health in allopathy, where we say cessation of symptoms. Similarly, in the different Eastern spiritual traditions, we have different definitions of health, and all of them pertain to purification of chakras, going into a state of no thought, on demand, experiencing oneness with existence, bringing down powers, the mystical powers and experiences into everyday life. So therefore, if you look at the East, the because the goal of human life is different, limits of human potential is different, the view on constitution of the human integer is different, the view on constitution of reality is different, the view on healing also is radically different.
Okay. So then how does transformation happen and how is that related to healing?
Transformation and healing are closely related, but they are different. All healing is transformation, but all transformation is not healing. You may have transformation in therapy itself, where the therapist knows something is transforming in the person, but healing is not happening. So transformation may lead to something positive or something negative, or it may lead to something positive in such small measure that neither the person nor the therapist can make out that healing is happening. Okay? So transformation is a process which keeps happening, but healing does not always happen. And we see that all the time in therapy that transformation is happening. There is change in thoughts, there is change in feelings, there is change in behavior at times, but often that is not accompanied by healing. So the two are related, but they are not the same.
So then what is the reason of transformation happening and healing not happening?
Uh, because at one level, the problem is definitional. What will you call transformation? Now, if you call only positive change as transformation, then of course it will get related to healing. So you will either have no healing or healing, but there will not be any negative consequence of transformation. But if you equate transformation in a wider sense without a positive value judgment added to it, then often what happens is that in the process of therapy, changes happen at unconscious levels. The situation in the unconscious undergoes a transformation. but a negative therapeutic reaction may come up. So the repressed may come up, maybe for working or maybe just out of its sheer force. And therefore, despite the transformation, it may not result in healing because it's a temporary negative therapeutic reaction which may not end up to healing. At times it does, at times it does not. Second element is the transformations may be too low or they may be unrelated to the core pathology that we are looking at. And even in those cases, we can see transformations happening somewhere, but healing does not happen. Third case would be the transformation is not sharp and piercing enough. Like you may have a cognitive transformation which does not result in total transformation and does not result in healing. So these are all, uh, there can be defensive transformations also that you may see uh, healing in one small area which tries to deflect you away from the core problem. And the core problem persists and after some time comes up with renewed vigor. So these are areas where there is transformation, but not necessarily healing.
Sir, how is healing looked at in pure terms of psychoanalysis?
The first definition is what goes on in psychiatry, cessation of symptoms. Second definition is relief from symptoms, even if it is not a cure. Third is making the unconscious conscious. Fourth is in ideational terms. Fourth is catharsis of pent up emotions. Fifth is integration of the personality. And then there are some more ways of looking at it. Some people look at it to say articulation of desire and profound acceptance of oneself itself is a form of healing. And that is a very different definition of healing because we are disassociating healing from cessation of symptoms. It is like, suppose somebody has an obsessive compulsive disorder and he washes his hands 20 times a day. He goes into therapy, articulates his desires fully, profoundly accepts himself, right? But still has the same symptom of washing hands 20 times a day. Now, people from this school who say articulation of desire is healing, they would say because the person has accepted himself fully in a very profound way and articulated his desire, he has healed himself, although symptoms have not shown any improvement. Now, this is a very different definition of healing where the definition almost disassociates itself from cessation or relief from symptoms.
Okay. So, how can healing happen?
Uh, Healing can happen in a variety of ways. One, there is a natural healing which goes on all the time. Just as in the body we have a immune system, we also have some sort of psychological immune system which we don't understand fully. But there is a natural erosion of mild pathology. So there is a natural spontaneous erosion of mild pathological material. There is a natural healing process, some processing which happens in the mind, which sort of heals milder forms of pathology every day as they happen. And this may have to do with unconscious processing of material or the use of dreams or day fantasies or acting out in indirect sublimated ways. So these are the, so the first healing that happens through these processes is the natural healing. Second is healing that can happen with medication. So in medication, we can look at allopathic medication, homeopathic medication, Ayurvedic medication. Although in Ayurvedic medication, I have seen few people with a strong grip today on the area of mental health. But uh, as a matter of principle, you can have healing happening because of medication. Healing can then happen by virtue of psychotherapy. And in psychotherapy, we are using three essential elements: thought, feeling, and behavior. So, either by using thought and correcting the flawed thinking patterns, or by release catharsis of pent up emotions, or by slow and gradual uh, enforcement of behavior so as to move closer to normal behavior. All these three can lead to healing. In the East, we also have other elements of energy, meditation, alchemy, and so on, which also result in healing.
So, what is it which is distinct to East when in respect to how healing happens?
Uh, the East has a much wider variety of tools with which they attempt to heal a person. So in the West, we are looking at either medication or therapy. In therapy, we are looking at using essentially thought, feeling, or behavior. Whereas in the East, we would also look at using energy healing techniques to heal, meditation techniques, both individual meditation and group meditation, active meditation and passive meditation. We would use the concept of mantra. We would use the concept of idol worship. We would use the concept of visualization. We would use the tool of music. We would use the tool of Ayurvedic herbs. We would use the tool of uh, yoga, and we would use the tool of alchemy, alchemical experimentation, and uh, byproducts which are produced out of that experimentation to be taken orally in, mostly orally in. You can have other applications also, but mostly oral. So this is how the East has a much bigger basket of tools to accomplish healing compared to the West.
Right. So, what actually happens, and what is it that we call healing? So, what exactly happens in a healing process?
Now this is a very deep question, because it will take us to the uh, core of the whole issue. What is it, that entity? What is the nature of that entity that we call sickness? And what in the most fundamental level, at the most fundamental level, is healing? So if, for example, I am suffering from depression and I take a pill, a psychiatric pill, and I feel good, what has happened at the most fundamental level? Or if I take homeopathic tablet, again I feel well, what has happened at the most fundamental level? Or I have gone to psychotherapy for 10 sessions and I have been able to heal myself. So what has actually happened? The nearest answer that we have, or the uh, whatever answer that we have, because we really don't have a final answer, it is still a work in progress. But the answer that we have at the moment is this: we can visualize the core entity which causes a problem as what Jung used to call the complex. And this complex, if you visualize like a sphere, for the sake of understanding, it may not be a sphere, it may have any shape or it may take any shape, but uh, for a metaphorical understanding, if you look and visualize that as a sphere, and let us say at the center of the sphere there is a magnet, and on the circumference of the sphere you have sort of iron nails, and the iron nails are around the magnet on the circumference, which is at the center. The magnet is at the center and iron nails on the circumference. And what connects the two is the force of magnetic field. Okay. Now, transform this in the psychological area as an analogy. Let us say at the center of the sphere is the core idea about an event. Let us say somebody's father beat him up, or somebody's father met with an accident. So his father meeting with an accident is that core idea that his father has met with an accident and died. And around that core idea is evaluation of that idea, then what is now going to be the outcome of this. So the person evaluates that this event is such that I should be feeling very sad. It will lead lot of insecurity in my life. So there is this registration of that idea and evaluation of that idea. These two are at the core, the ideational component of the complex. And these two gather around themselves lot of feelings or affect. Okay? And the affect is bound to this center by what I call affinity. Others don't even use this concept, but we can visualize the complex as a sphere with ideational component at the center and affect around that ideational component. Now, unless the ideational component is made conscious and the affect is disassociated from the ideational component, healing will not happen. So at the most fundamental level, we can look at every traumatic situation as producing traumas, and traumas being those complexes with an ideational center and affect around the ideational center. Right? And the ideational center has to be made conscious and the affect has to be disassociated from the ideational center. So this can be accomplished either by using thinking. So therapies like CBT, DBT, REBT, they use the levers of thought, conscious mind, and the willpower of person to accomplish this process of making the unconscious conscious and uh, removing the effect from it. And in case the pathology is conscious, then the entire thing, the ideational component and the affect, both are in the conscious mind. So the first process we don't have to do, it's already conscious. The only thing is we have to remove the feeling from that idea. Okay? And that can be done using cognitive tools like REBT, CBT, DBT, or affective tools which look at catharsis primarily, like psychoanalysis or ISTDP, or energy tools like Reiki or pranic healing, which try to remove energy from that complex. And at deeper levels of work, try to change that ideational component per se. And the same can be accomplished using mantra, using visualization, right? Using certain forms of idle worship, meditation, or some alchemical products. So this is how at the most fundamental level, we are looking at undoing the core entity, the complex, and as we understand it, it is a combination of ideational content associated with affect. And by experience, we know that this can be reduced in intensity or eliminated completely, at sometimes using instrument of thought and will, in sometimes using affect, sometimes using energy tools, sometimes using meditation, and so on. Sometimes even using just homeopathic pills. So there are various ways in which this works. So this is a multifactorial dynamic system at the level of the complex, right? Where it is like uh, uh, octopus with 7 legs. One leg responds to thought, one leg responds to affect, and based upon what is the nature of that octopus, the right therapy can be found out.
Precisely my another question. But before that, the idea and the affect concept is very well explained, sir. Thank you for that. And so that, then second question is, how do you select for which individual what therapy is best? Like, how do you create a basket of healing therapies for an individual?
Now, this is the core of holistic healing. How do you create a basket of complementing holistic healing tools for any given individual? This is going to be the central work for the next 25 years. We start with the two fundamental principles of holistic healing. Number one, everything works on someone, nothing works on everyone. And number two, a basket of complementing holistic healing tools produces better results than using a single tool. These two being fundamental principles which we see again and again in experience being validated. We have to look at how we can create a basket of tools. Okay. Now, this also can be looked at from another way, that after creating the basket of tools, what should you use first? What should you use second? And so on. So this brings us to the line of concept, brings us to the concept of lines of defense. That if a person has OCD, should he start with drugs? Should he start with CBT? Should he start with psychoanalysis, or should he start with drugs and then go to CBT after 2 months? How can we phase out or structure this whole holistic healing basket? Studies have started on some very specific sicknesses where we have been able to look at performance of different methods on the same sickness and then conclude that this sickness, for this sickness, this method is the best, therefore this should be the first line of defense. Okay? So that the time, energy, money is saved, suffering is reduced. So this is one way of looking at it, that we can look at lines of defense and in that way sequence the application of holistic healing tool one after the other. I would also uh, put it in 5 layers and then apply the concept of lines of defense. So what are the 5 layers of holistic healing? First layer I would call medication. So there we would have options of allopathy, homeopathy, Ayurveda. In serious cases, we have no option but allopathy. In moderate and mild cases, we may have option to choose between allopathy and homeopathy. And if you can find a good Ayurveda person who is specializing in mental health, maybe that also. So this is layer one, medication. Layer two, I would call it as short-term therapies. Or layer two, I would call as therapies. And this therapy layer, I would divide further into three: short term, medium term, and long term. In short term, I would put CBT, DBT, REBT, and others. In medium term, I would put ISTDP, experiential therapies. And long term, I would put psychoanalytic psychotherapy, existential humanistic therapy, and so on. Third layer, I would put as, yeah, in the second layer, we can move from short to medium to long. Right? If somebody can get cured by a short-term therapy, why go for a medium-term or long-term therapy? So the long-term therapy should be a therapy of the last resort. It should be a recourse of the last resort. Third, I would put as uh, the complementing therapies, the complementing group therapies, the energy healing therapy, sorry. The third layer I would put as energy healing therapies, Reiki, pranic healing, Tai Chi, and so on. The fourth layer I would put as social support groups and group therapies, right? Which may include groups like Alcoholic Anonymous. So similarly, you can have a Depression Anonymous, Anxiety Anonymous, whatever you feel like. You can also have NGO groups, spiritual groups, which offer support and also are good for healing. Person also can do social work and feel more worthy and satisfied. And the fifth is self-work layer, which includes listening to certain forms of music, doing meditations, doing yoga, and working on oneself, whatever assignments are given or work is given. So these five layers, and we can choose something in each layer to make the full basket for a person. My experience at present, we are working. The ultimate goal in the next 25 years is to create a grid which tells you personality type, pathology, and intensity of pathology. Based upon these three, right, how to create a holistic healing basket tool, a basket of holistic healing tools, and then put into chronology and synergistic application.
Wonderful, sir. And that reminds me about the heat, about your heat model. Can you explain a little about it?
Heat refers to holistic elemental analysis and therapy. So it is holistic in its understanding of man and the universe, and it does elemental analysis. Now, what is elemental analysis? So heat differs from the Western and the Eastern classical models in the following ways. One, it combines the East and the West. So it differs from the East because it incorporates the West, and differs from the West because it incorporates the East. So first it does is put together East and West, put together the model of the mind of yoga psychology, tantra psychology, Sri Aurobindo's psychology on one hand, and Freud's model, Jung's model on the other hand. Put all of that together. After that, it brings in certain innovations in terms of concepts like affinity, like incorporation of the masculine and the feminine between the psychic and the inner being, as Sri Aurobindo calls it. So yin and yang is inserted there in a structural way. Third, bringing in theories of Freud, Jung, and everyone else to explain different chakras and the phenomena of different chakras. Fourth, uh, it creates an opening so that some phenomena may happen by virtue of something happening deep below the collective unconscious at the level of desire, and something passes, so a desire is created, goes to the collective unconscious, personal unconscious, and comes into consciousness, like Jung says. But unlike what Jung says, there are openings in the collective unconscious. So a desire may be created, and through those openings of the collective unconscious, straight away go into the personal unconscious, or even the personal unconscious has openings, straight away go to the conscious part of the mind. So the conceptualization of the collective unconscious and the personal unconscious have gaps in them. They are not holes. Then the heat brings us to how the process happens. For example, let us say in the Kleinian terms, we talk about, say, attack of the bad breast. So what happens in the child's mind? So what we do is, we say the child is now terrified, the bad breast will attack. So if you deconstruct this thinking process further, what happens? There is something called the bad breast. It is going to attack. Why is it going to attack? Because I have attacked it. What is at work is realism. Realism says if I have attacked X and X has survived, X will take revenge from me. But at the same time, if I was not realistic, but I was optimistic, I can also think, right? I have attacked X, right? X has survived, but X is very good, he will not attack me. Or my fortune is very good, he will not attack me. Or if I am pessimistic, I will think, even if I have not attacked, still X will attack me. Right? So below this attack of the bad breast is some sort of thinking going on where realism, positivity, or negativity is at work. So can we go into those depths and then look also as thinking? For example, human thinking cannot happen without using variables like quality, quantity, substance, force, relation, right? Unless we use these concepts, we cannot psychoanalytic process goes into the depth of phenomena. So whether we take paranoid schizoid phenomena or Oedipal phenomena, we go into the epistemological depths of it and then find out how is affect generated, how are thoughts generated, and let us say after the end of it we come to analysis that the most difficult part in this person is sensitivity. That if we look at the three parts, affect generation, affect regulation, and affect expression, right? Affect generation itself is a problem because too much affect is generated. So much affect is generated that no ego can control. Or affect is generated is all right, the ego is too defective to control. So there is a problem of affect regulation, not of affect generation. So heat model goes into this kind of finer details below the phenomena. So Oedipal phenomena, paranoid schizoid phenomena, below those phenomena, we go into epistemological inquiry, and through epistemological inquiry, we come to uh, analysis of affect generation, affect expression, affect regulation, and pathology generation. And when we come to the most finer elements, the elemental analysis, for example, we realize sensitivity is a problem or affect tolerance is a problem. We can work on those parts with some tools so that at the most fundamental levels, even below the level of psychoanalytic phenomena, we can look at doing some sort of healing. So that healing is at much fundamental level, elemental level, compared to phenomenological level healing, which is at present on in psychoanalysis.
So another question, then how far can healing go? And what is karma? I mean, is does karma have a part here, or is it all about healing and healing?
Uh, in the West, healing can go so far as the laws of genetics and the laws of science allow us to go. And in the East, healing can go so far as laws of genetics, laws of environment, and the laws of karma allow us to go. And not only that, it's laws of science, laws of genetics, laws of environment, laws of karma, and the law of the soul journey. Right? So there is something called the human condition on earth, right? That some level of anxiety, some level of dissonance, some level of dissatisfaction, some level of pain, some level of sadness is always going to be there. You can't transform earth into heaven. Right? So there are some characteristics of earth per se, some characteristics of what is called the given human condition, right? The eternal subject of all philosophizing, man and his condition on earth. And this human condition, as we call it, has inbuilt into it certain forms of frustration, pain, anxiety, and so much, and so on. So existential philosophers say that this minimum amount of difficulties is something that nobody can solve. It is a part of the human condition. It is what it means to be human. That human beings are not gods. And human beings, when you say you are a human being, these are inevitable components of your life. So there is something called a natural given human condition. And therefore, you are right, healing has its limits, right? Limits put by genetics, limits put by science, limits put by karma, limits put by the soul journey, right? And all of it transforms into a collective statement which we call the human condition. What is of hope here is uh, the spiritual understanding of the human potential and the possibility of overriding or surpassing the human condition and evolving into or emerging into a state of much higher state of happiness and bliss and much lower state, almost an absence of negative emotions. So this is the hope from the spiritual side, which says that healing can go on and on till its end, right? And you can surpass the human condition.
It's nice. Sir, so what is the concept of healing? How will it evolve in the near future?
I think when we talk about future evolution, we will look at certain areas which are very important in this context. First is the definition of healing. It will go a lot of churn. It will get more holistic and more positive. Second is uh, advances in the medication area, whether it is allopathy, homeopathy, or Ayurveda. That is second important element, which will influence in a positive way how healing happens, how quickly it happens, with how what minimum cost it happens, minimum risk it happens. Advances in psychotherapy, not only in terms of school-wise advance, but integration in schools of psychotherapy and integration in East and West. Fourth, this development of holistic healing to accelerate, deepen, and make healing not only less painful, but more purposeful, more joyful, and more meaningful, more adding up to self-development. Fifth is advancements to understand this whole area of uh, what we call hallucinogens or substances which change the states of mind, which today we know only negatively because of the addictions. But there is a large area where substances are used to change states of mind and offer us some vantage point to look inside in a way which is not otherwise possible. So this whole area of what I say uh, herbal substances for psychological change. This is one more area which I think will be developed in a very large area and very large measure. And then we have areas like pranic healing, Reiki. Especially, I would like to focus here on crystal healing. My belief is that it will be one of the prime areas for research. Right? And if we succeed, we can really do almost miracles if we know how that thing operates and how we can enhance the power of that process. And the last is delving into the spiritual mystical techniques of self transformation. And this includes spiritual practices which are scattered around hundreds of schools of spirituality across the world, and some alchemical mystical processes which at present are confined to very small secretive groups. And to some extent, they were used before by Ayurveda and Siddha, but no longer used anymore. Right? So, this entire area of uh, herbs and alchemy is one more area which I think will add to this holistic healing basket that we are referring to. And all this put together, my feeling is healing will become more holistic, more meaningful, more of an inward journey, quicker, and uh, far more decentralized and uh, non medical in the conventional sense of the term.
Well, thank you very much, sir, for summarizing what exactly healing is and how does it happen. Today we have discussed in depth on the concept of healing. In subsequent videos, we will discuss on other concepts in the area of psychotherapy. Do watch our videos and write to us at hvindia@gmail.com. Namaste.
Namaste.